Hello. As promised, I have a tutorial video for you guys showing you how I put together the KSCRAFT 3D book drawer box. I will link that die in the description box below. I am on the design team and that die was sent to me for free. And I have had a lot of fun playing with it, and I promised that I would do a tutorial on how I put the die together, so that's what I am here to do. So let's get started. Okay. So when you get your die and you take it out of the package, it's going to be like a million pieces, or at least it will feel like it. But don't fret. You are going to sort the dies. So the first thing you want to do is pick out all of the pieces that have stitching. So any piece that has stitching on it goes over to the side because these are our layering pieces, and we don't need those until the very end of putting our die together or our book together. Okay, so anything with stitching goes over to the side. Okay, then we are left with the dies that do not have stitching. So we're going to put those over here. These are the dies we are going to use first, and these are going to make up the bones of our book. And then the stitching dies like this one are going to be part of the decorative pieces. And then you're also going to get a few decorative dies in here. You've got some flowers and some leaves, and there are a couple of words somewhere. I think there's another word, but I'm not sure what I did with it. Okay, so we're going to put all those stitching dies over here to the side, and we will use those later on. Okay. So now we have these dies, and this is a lot less dies to work with, so that's good news. And we are going to now die cut the cardstock that we're going to use as the base of our book. So I'm using 110-pound cardstock, and because I'm using such thick cardstock, that's why I decided to put my die together a little differently than Hannah did in her tutorial. If you're using, regular like 65-pound, or if you're using pattern paper, I think her tutorial, will work perfectly. It probably would work perfectly with the 110-pound cardstock as well, but I was not able to make it work, so I had to change it just a tiny bit. So let me share with you guys what I did. So the first thing that you want to do is find the two large rectangles. There are two rectangles, and they look like they're almost the exact same size, but they are not. One of them is slightly bigger and one of them is slightly smaller, and I do mean very slightly. So the smaller one, the smaller rectangle, you're only going to cut one piece out, and the larger rectangle, you cut two pieces out. Okay, so one of the small rectangles, two of the large rectangles. Okay. Then you are going to cut one of these. So this piece here with the two tabs, one on each side, you just need one of those. You need two pieces of this one, two pieces of this one, and two pieces of this one. Okay, and once you get all of those dies cut, then you are ready to start putting together your box. Okay, now a couple things that I'm going to use is just a little bone folder and my glue. I'm using the Barely Art glue. This is my favorite glue to use. And yeah, we're going to get going. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do is find my two larger rectangles. Okay, so two of the rectangles, make sure that you look at them because they are very, very close. The two large rectangles we're going to work with first, and then we're also going to work with this piece, and this is the one that we cut that has the two tabs on the sides. Okay, so it looks like this when we cut it out, and you'll see there are some little score lines here on the side here and on the side here. So before I do anything, I want to fold my score lines so that they are easy to see and they have a little bit of fold in them. So I'm going to just fold them down like this. And this is where my scoring tool comes in because you probably will need it to get your folds really crisp. Okay. And I'm working, like I said, with 110-pound cardstock, which sometimes makes it a little difficult because the paper can be a little tough to work with, but it does make a very sturdy project, and I like for the things that I create to last as long as possible. Okay, so once I have folded my score lines, then I'm going to turn it so that the folds are kind of going down towards the table, and I'm going to put this in the middle, and I'm going to take my large rectangle face up, and I'm going to glue it on that score line there. So let me zoom in just a little bit for you guys. Okay, so we're going to glue this right onto here. So I'm just going to put a strip of glue here on my tab. Okay, and get that covered nicely. And then I'm going to take my large rectangle and I'm going to line it up as perfectly as possible. And I'm going to glue those two sides or two pieces together right there. Okay, and I'm going to give the glue just a few seconds to really adhere, pressing back and forth to make sure that there is a good hold on that. And then I'm going to come over here and do the exact same thing on this side with the other large rectangle. So I'm going to get my glue. And I'm going to just lay down a little strip of glue right here. I don't know why, but my glue has been kind of fussy lately for some reason. I must have an air bubble or something in there. Let's see if I can get it working for us today. There we go. Okay, so put some glue on there. And then we're going to glue this side down here. And again, just line it up as best you can there on the side. Okay. And then I'm going to set this aside. So we're going to let this really dry really, really well. And we're going to work on a different part of the book while this piece dries. So we have our large rectangle, our center piece, and our other large rectangle. So we're going to set that aside. Okay, now we're going to work on the drawer part of the book. Okay, so we're going to take our smaller rectangle and we're going to basically use all the pieces that we've die cut except for these two. We're going to save these for later, so set them to the side. And we should have two small little rectangles that look like this. And then we should have two longer skinny rectangles that look like this. Okay. And again, we're going to fold on the score lines and get those folded really nicely. If we need to, we can use the bone folder. This seems to be working pretty good the way I've got it. And then we're going to do the same thing with these smaller pieces. We're just going to fold on all the score lines. Okay. There we go. And then you can do this here. Okay. And now we're ready to glue this to our smaller rectangle. Now this is the bottom of the drawer and all of these pieces are the sides of the drawer. So we're going to put this with the folds facing down towards the table, and we're going to line it up so that it's on the smaller side, the side that matches this tab right here. And we're going to put our glue there. And we're going to line this up as best we can with that fold. And you want to take your time. This part is important. So you want to make sure that you have glued it on there as perfectly as you can get it. And then I just kind of rub it back and forth to make sure that there's no air and that everything, you know, is adhered really well. Okay, and then we're going to do the opposite side again with the small, again, the tab facing toward the table. Putting our glue on the tab. Okay, and lining it up. Okay. And if you get any glue, extra glue, you can always use like an adhesive eraser, which, here we go. I got mine at Dollar Tree and it works really well. So if you have any extra glue, you just kind of rub this over the top of it and it gets rid of any glue that's there. Okay, and then we're going to take our other two longer rectangles and we're going to now glue this tab here to this side. And again, our tab is facing towards the table. Okay. And we're just going to line it up with that side of the paper right on that fold line. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and do this side. Get enough grip there. Okay, now we're going to let this set for maybe just about 30 seconds. So, you know, get a drink, you know, clean up your craft area, whatever you need to do. Give it about 30 seconds to set before you start working with it. Okay, but this is what it should look like so far. Okay, so once it's dried for just about 30 seconds or so, then you're ready and you can start putting this together. Now this is your drawer, so as of right now, this is how we glued it together. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to pull up the sides so that this creates our drawer. So we're going to just pick a side. I don't know if it matters really which one you pick. And we're going to just put some glue here on this little tab. And then we're going to glue it to this paper. So we're going to put the glue here. And we're going to glue it to the inside of this other cardstock piece here. Now I like to lay it down onto the table so that I can make sure I have a perfect, you know, 90-degree angle there on the side. And I just sort of run my finger along it to make sure that the edge matches up really well. And then I can use my bone folder to run over that little tab and just make sure I have a very good, you know, grip, I guess, between the two pieces of paper. Okay, and then while I'm here, I will go ahead and do this other side and put some glue on the edge. And then, you know, attach it. And again, I put it on the table and I just make sure that I've got it lined up as perfectly as possible. And you may have to just kind of push it over to get it exactly where it's supposed to be. But once you've got it where it needs to go, then you can rub your finger or your bone folder over that tab and really let it grip on there really well. And again, you might want to wait like 10-20 seconds before you start gluing the other side, just so that this side adheres pretty well before you start, you know, manipulating it. Okay, and then we're ready to work on the other side. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to put the glue here on the tab and glue it down. And again, I just kind of push that paper over until it lines up exactly where I want it to be. And then I use my bone folder to press it down. And then we have our last corner to work on. Okay. There we go. And then we are going to glue that down. And hold that down for just a second. The very last corner might have a little bit of difficulty adhering, especially if you're using this 110-pound cardstock, because it's not manipulated as easily, but just hold it down until that glue really grips on there, and then you should be good to go. Okay, and then that is our drawer. So we're going to set this aside. We're not going to work with this again for a little bit. So we're going to put that over there on the side of the table and let that continue drying. Okay, now we're going to go back to this piece, which is what we created at the very beginning of the video, and we are ready to start working with this piece here. We are going to need this piece to curve, and if you're working with 110-pound cardstock, that can be difficult. I made several of these books, 9 of them actually already, and a couple of mine did crease. So you just have to go carefully. There's probably better ways to do this. I'm sure many of you, can leave some suggestions in the comments, and they would be greatly appreciated. But this is how I got it to curve. But again, if you have a better way, please let us know. So I took my paper like this and I held it here with this hand, and gently I pushed down with the center of my hand and then pulled the paper up. Okay, again, you have to do it gently because you're going to rip the paper if you do it too hard, or you might crease the paper. But what we want to do is sort of weaken the fibers in the paper so that it curves and it's not so stiff and so straight. So we just keep doing this over and over and over again. Again, very gently, very slowly, until the paper starts to do what we want it to. If you do bend the paper, it's not the end of the world. We're going to layer paper on top of it, so you will see that you can kind of cover it up. Okay, so you can see now that the paper is starting to curve a bit more. Again, if you're using like 65-pound cardstock or even pattern paper, you're not going to have as difficult a time getting it to curve like that. It's because the paper is so thick that it sort of resists that, curving situation there. But now once we have it curved, we're ready to start working with these things. So we're going to pick out these 2 pieces here, and we're ready to attach these. So this is how my tutorial starts to differ a little bit from Hannah's. So I believe Hannah, she glued on this part first and then did the sides. I tried to do that with the 110-pound, but I could not get my paper to stay attached. It kept popping off. She also used some like really heavy duty tape, and I don't think I have any tape that strong. So I was trying to use glue, and it wouldn't dry well enough to be able to do the book. So I decided to try it a different way, and I glued the sides on first and then did this curved part last. So that's what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. So if you're using this super stiff paper, maybe this will work for you. Okay, so you're just going to fold all your tabs down like you always do. Okay, and the tabs are facing towards the table as always. And we're going to take the top of our book, I guess, right? Pick a side of your book, and we're going to adhere this tab to the top of our book here. So I'm going to line it up so that this edge meets this edge, and I'm going to glue just this top part right here. Okay, I'm not going to glue the curved part just yet. So that's what I'm going to do first. Again, my tabs are going to be towards the table. Well, I guess in this case, they'll be pointed up. Yeah, they will be pointed up. Well, trying to see what will be the best way. No, let's do it like this. Okay, I'm sorry. I've confused everyone now. Take your curve so that it's face down, right? So the curve looks like this. Face it down towards the table, and then take your paper and so that the tabs are face down. It's better if you, I think if you do it this way, you can line it up better. So we're going to put the glue on our tab here. And we're going to line these two edges up. And you want to line them up as good as possible. Like just line this edge right over here up perfectly. And then, you know, put the glue basically until this part right here. Okay. And again, we're just going to rub our finger over that until we have a good hold. And we can use our glue eraser if we need to get rid of any extra glue. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side down here. Now, I'm doing this on purpose. If I went ahead and started gluing the other side of this, this hasn't had enough time to really adhere very well. And I'm already starting to work with this other side. This might pop off. So I'm going to give this a few seconds to adhere. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and glue this side. So we're going to do the same thing. We've got our little piece here. We're going to fold our tabs just like this. And we're going to glue this here. Just like so. Okay, so same thing, we're going to put the glue over here on our tab. And we're going to line this up as perfectly as possible. Right on that score line. Which on camera, it might be difficult to see the score line, but in person, it's pretty obvious. Okay, and again, we're going to just rub our finger back and forth until we get a good grip on the papers. Okay. Now, you might want to still just give it another 15 seconds, 20 seconds before you start working with this side again. The longer you can let it set, the better, because then this is going to have a really good grip and it's not going to want to pop off of the paper. Again, because I'm using the thick cardstock, it doesn't want to bend. You know, it really fights you. So, once I have a good grip on that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper. Let me turn this so you can see. I'm going to fold my paper around and I'm going to glue right here on this tab. I'm not going to glue these just yet. I'm waiting on those. So I'm just going to glue right here on this tab on this paper. Okay. And so when I do that, what I want to do is I want to fold my tabs in so that they're not in the way. Okay. So we're just going to fold them in so that they're really nice and curved. And then we're going to put our glue on this tab. And again, I'm going to fold it over so that I can hold it down on the table and make sure I line it up just right. But that's going to be very difficult to show you on camera because it's going to have this heavy part over the top of it. But just know I'm putting the glue here and then I'm going to line it up here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You can also, instead of putting it on the tab, you can just put the glue here on this paper. Whatever works best for you. Okay, and we're going to fold it. And we're going to line it up with the very edge of our paper. Okay, and again, I want to make sure from this view over here that it's lined up perfectly on this side. And if it's not, then you just push the paper over so that it makes a very clean, straight edge. Okay. And then again, once I get it where I want it, I'm going to use my bone folder to just really push it down and make sure that I've got a good grip between the two sides. Okay, and this you do need to kind of hold this probably for a good 15 to 20 seconds before you let go so that the paper does not try to pop back apart, because it will try to do that because it's thick paper. Okay, and once you feel like that side has adhered pretty well, then you're ready to do the exact same thing over here on this other side. You're going to glue this tab down to this side, and we're just going to bend all of these tabs so that they go inside and they're not in our way at all. Okay, so we're just putting glue here, here, and then adhering this tab to this. And I do apologize, I know it's very hard to see just because of the angle. Okay, and again, I'm just gonna line this up over here and make sure this is perfectly straight. And once it is, then I'm gonna get my bone folder out and really smooth it down. See how it popped up? So I gotta hold it longer. I'm gonna put more glue and hold it longer so that it doesn't pop up, because it really, when you are working with thick cardstock, it does not want to bend. It will fold, but it does not want to bend. So, but I promise you, if you do use the 110 pound, this is going to be a very sturdy box when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to just hold this for about 20 seconds before I let go. Okay, and once you get both sides glued, then it looks like this. And now we just need to adhere these little tabs to the inside, okay? So one way that you can do that is if you push the corners, see how the corners are sort of gapped? There's a little hole there. If you push them together, it creates some space up here so that you can put the nozzle of your glue inside and put glue on the little tabs, and then you can kind of hold it like this with your hand and put this other hand inside and push the tabs against your hand. Okay, so you can do it that way with the liquid glue, or if you have a precision tip hot glue gun, you can do that as well. And sort of put the glue in there. If you do it with the liquid glue, you just have to hold it longer to get it to adhere. If you do the hot glue, it will go faster, but of course, you know, it might be messier. I'm going to do a combination of both. So I'm going to put some hot glue here on these two tabs and then get it adhered. And then once it's adhered really well, I'm going to put the liquid glue on the side tabs. So let me get my hot glue up and running, and we will go from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, again, if I pinch the sides, then you'll see it kind of pops that out so that I can put glue on these little tabs, and then I'm going to push them in so that they adhere. And I'm not going to do all of them. I think it works best if you do like these top few, and then like with your precision glue, you can kind of get into the cracks of the other sides. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue. Hopefully this hot glue is hot enough. Nope, maybe it's not quite ready. Let me give it a couple more minutes. Okay, I think we're ready now. So let's go. I put just a little bit here on these three main tabs in the center. And then we're going to let go and kind of push this in there. Okay. And then again, you just kind of push on the corner of your hand. Now be careful you don't burn yourself with the hot glue. We don't want that. But you can just kind of put your hand inside and push down on those little tabs. And if you have a little hot glue left over, you can kind of trim it off and get it lined up just the way you want it to be. Okay, and then once those tabs are glued in, then you can use your precision glue and kind of just put some glue here and fill in these areas, and then push it down and then wipe the extra glue away. So if you have any extra glue, just wipe it off. It just comes right off. And then you just hold it down for a few seconds. That's why the hot glue is kind of great, because it dries so quickly. The liquid glue, you really have to hold it down for a few seconds to get it to grip. And then you can kind of wipe away anything extra, and you can always use that adhesive eraser if you need to. But you'll see it'll start to form some shape. And see over here where we have this hole, we don't have that over here because it's glued down now. And so you're going to just do the same thing over here and put your glue right in there on the tab. And then you, again, let me move this out of the way. You're going to put your hand inside and then push the tabs down from the inside and then hold from the outside. And again, you may get some extra glue, just wipe it off. So, again, this method works really well if you're using the super thick 110-pound cardstock to create your book. If you're using, you know, lighter weight paper, I don't think you'll have to do as much to get it glued down because it's not going to resist bending as much as this thicker paper is. Okay, and then we'll just let it dry for a few seconds, and then we'll do the other side. Okay, once you have both sides adhered, then your box is pretty much done other than the decorating. So this little drawer fits into the box just like so. If for some reason you have a gap, like if your box is looking like this, you can just lay something, not too heavy, but something a little heavier on top for about 30 minutes and it will flatten out. I had that happen to a couple of my boxes, and then I just laid, I think I laid like a stamping block on top and it flattened the box out. So it's all good. Okay, so now we're ready to embellish and decorate our box. So we're going to set this aside for just a minute, and now we're going to get all of our stitching dies out. So we're going to take away all the dies that don't have stitching. We don't need those anymore. And now we are going to find the dies that do have stitching. So we've got these flowers and the words, so you can cut those out and decorate your box with those if you want to. It does come with this stitched frame that you can turn into a shaker if you would like. And then all of these pieces are going to cut out layering pieces for our box. Okay, so let me share with you what each of these things is. So this stitched skinnier rectangle, this is going to be the piece that wraps around the outside of the box. This is the spine of your book. So it is a rectangle that's going to wrap around the spine. This piece here is the book pages, and so this is going to go on the very front of your drawer. This piece is the other book pages, the bottom pages. So this is going to be the bottom and the top layering piece right here. It does not have any score lines like this one does. So I'll show you in a minute what I did to make this look similar to this. Okay. Then we have two different sized stitched rectangles. Okay. Again, they're very close in size, but a little bit different. So the smaller stitched rectangle is for the drawer, and it is going to be the piece that you use to line the inside of your drawer or the bottom of your drawer if you choose. And then the larger stitched rectangle is going to be the cover of your book and the back of your book. And then this little tiny stitched rectangle is the sides of the drawer, okay, or the inside, whichever you prefer. Now, I will say, if you want your drawer to fit very snugly, I recommend that you line the inside of the drawer with pattern paper and line the outside of the drawer with pattern paper. If you do that, the book will fit perfectly into the book, okay? If you don't do that, you'll see there's just a little bit of extra space. So it won't fall out. Like, see, it's not going to fall out. It just, to me, fits a little bit better if you line everything. It will also look more finished that way too. But that's totally up to you. You know, if you have to make a whole bunch of these, you may not want to do all of that. So what I'm going to do right now is die cut some pattern paper, and then we're going to layer it up on top of this book. Okay, so I've die cut some pattern paper. I'm using, oh, I'm so sorry. Camera. A little crooked there. I'm using the sketchbook collection by Bia Valent, and so I die cut the smaller rectangle that's going to go right in the center of the box. I'm just going to adhere this down to the center. It has this cute little book paper, so I thought that'd be cute for the inside. And then I die cut the two smaller rectangles. I cut two of those, and they're going to go on the inside just like this. Now, the thing with the long rectangles is there's only one piece like this, and it has the embossing lines for the book pages. If you don't want that on the inside of your box, then you can just die cut a piece of paper. The measurements for this is 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, and that's what I've done here. So I just die cut my own paper. It won't have the stitching lines, but I would prefer it not to have these embossing lines on the inside. So that's what I've decided to do. So I'm going to take a minute and just glue all of that into the inside of the book. Okay, now I've got the inside of my box covered, and now I'm going to die cut the pieces to cover the outside of my book. Same exact thing, except on one of the sides, the side that's going to stick out, I'm going to use this piece to die cut a piece of solid color cardstock. Okay, so I covered the outside of my box with some pattern paper, and then here on this side is where I used this piece, and these are my book pages. Okay, so this is going to be the outside of the drawer that faces outward when you put it into your box. Okay, now I want this side to look similar to this, because when you put a book on the shelf, it looks like this. So the pieces, or the piece that they gave, or that comes in the set, does not have any score lines on it like this one does. So what I'm going to do is die cut it, and then I'm going to put my own score lines so that it will be similar. It won't be exact, but it'll be similar to what we have here. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so I die cut this out of the same cream colored cardstock, but it's plain, and I want it to look more like this so that it has the embossed lines in it. So I'm going to use my scoring tool, and I'm basically just going to score every 1/8 inch down this piece once I get it cut out. So I'm just going to use my scoreboard and my scoring tool, and I'm going to just go every 1/8 inch all the way down until I have scored the whole piece. And I have those score lines in the book pages, and then when I adhere it to my book, it will look very similar to the piece that does have that. So I'm going to show you. So you can see theirs are much tinier. I don't have an embossing or a scoring tool that does that, but this is what I do have, and it's pretty close. So if you put this here, it's going to look close to pages. And I apologize, my nails are looking I'm trying to let them rest a while without having any polish or anything on them, so I will try to hide those. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've got that adhered on the edges. Now, I do recommend that you line the inside because it will make your better, your drawer fit better inside. So what you'll want to do if you do that is to cut 2 of the large rectangles and glue one, on the inside here, and then one on the top, just like that. And then you'll want to cut 2 of these pieces and glue them on the inside. Oh, I've got that one backwards. Glue them on the inside here. Okay, so I'm going to glue all of that in there real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I lined the inside. Now, you can't really line like the way back part back there. I mean, I guess maybe you could, but that's beyond my skill. But I think it's okay, because when you pull the drawer out, really what you're seeing is just this part right here. Now, you're ready to cover the outside of your book. So you're going to cut 2 large rectangles and then 1 here of these skinnier ones for the spine. If you're wanting to do any stitching on your cover, now is the time. So do, whatever stitching you're wanting. And then you're ready to adhere. So you could adhere this one here, and then this one folds around onto the spine. Now again, you will want to curve this paper before you start, gluing it. So again, I just kind of pull it and push down to try to bend the paper a little bit and at least give it some curve before you get going. Like I said, I put together a lot of these books already, and my preferred method for the spine is to use some kind of adhesive runner. And this one's probably just about out. For the center, so like the main part there that's going to go around the curve, and then the glue for the edges. So the glue is going to like really hold those edges down, but I find that you get a smoother curve if you put the tape runner in the center instead of the glue. That's just been my experience. So I'm going to now take this and wrap it around the spine of my book. Now you can see my book, you know, it has some folding, or I guess, yeah, bending there, but you're going to cover that up with this paper, so it's going to be just fine. So I'm just going to line it up kind of where I want it to go. And you want to leave a little bit of a gap. It doesn't go exactly to the fold. And then kind of wrap it around. Now, it takes a minute for the glue to adhere, remember? So you got to kind of push it down and then hold it. I think it works best if you just kind of hold it like this. And really let that glue adhere a little bit before you start messing with it. And you can just kind of spread it out with your fingers and really rub it in and try to get it to adhere on there as perfectly as possible. Sometimes I have to even go in and put just maybe like a little more glue here on the edges to get it to really hold, and then just wipe away any excess that there is. And then again, you can always use your adhesive eraser to, you know, remove any adhesive that you have left over. I've got just a little bit there. Okay, so once I get that on my spine and everything is looking good, then I'm ready to work on the cover. And I've already put one piece here on the back. And again, if I want to do any stitching on the cover, now is the time. Or if you want to add a shaker before you put it on there, you might do that before you adhere this down. So that is your book. And then you put the drawer inside and you're good to go. And you can see if you have all this pattern paper on there, it really fits in there snugly and it's not going to go anywhere. And you know, then you can kind of pull it out. Now, on the front, I recommend that you put some kind of drawer pull. I don't have any that are large enough for this book. All the ones I have are kind of on the smaller size. So what I did on the ones that I created was I used a circle punch. So I used a 1-inch circle punch, and I just tried to line it up on the front as evenly as possible. You could measure it, but I'm more of an eyeballer, which causes some of you stress. And I'm just going to cut like a little half circle here, or even a quarter of a circle. Punch that through. And then that's going to give me a little place to put my finger so that I can open the drawer easily. So that's an option if you don't have a drawer pull, so that you can pull the drawer out. Okay. Also, on the ones that I created, I put some little strips here, some little spine binding. And if you want to cut those yourself, they do not come in the set, but I just cut some that were 1 inch by 3 inches, and then put one at the top and one at the bottom, and I stitched on those. I did not stitch on the spine, but I stitched on those little side pieces, and it turned out really cute. So give me just a second and I'll show you the one that I made. Okay, so I turned mine into a book stack. So I actually have 3 stacked together here. But you can see on the spine, I put these little bands, and they're just 1 inch by 3 inch, and I just stitched on those. I also just stitched on the covers, but I didn't stitch the whole book. So if you like the look of stitching, but you're thinking, I don't want to do all that stitching, you might just stitch on the cover. And then you can see here, I did the little half circles to pull the drawers out. But yeah, I think it turned out so cute. This is such a fun die set, and I absolutely love working with it. So I I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you stuck with me this far, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. And I hope you guys are having a great day. I will leave the link to this die in the description box below. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.